Still today, very many organizations are very reactive. That's why I'm in the business.
Welcome to Asset Management Visionaries Shaping Tomorrow. Maura Abad, under the Association of Asset Management Professionals. We want to welcome today's special guest, Christer Idhammar. Welcome, Chris. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing great. How are you?
Very, very good. And with you, even better. I've been very lucky. I've met you over 10 years already.
Oh, yeah.
We want the world to know, who is Chris?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a guy who has worked with reliability and maintenance for many, many years. I started very young as an apprentice on board the ships in the engine room, and I traveled the world, and I still do. And so that's about 64 years ago. And I always loved equipment, and with that, people. And I saw very, very early on that on board a ship, it was so important with reliability. We went through the Suez Canal and the Panama Canal and other places, and if something went wrong, and the maintenance on the board of the ships was so poor, there was nothing. So when I became an engineer, I actually started setting up very, very basic, simple inspection routes and better lubrication and so forth. And there were so many incidents where we were very close to a disaster, but that made me very interested in it. And then, of course, I always been interested working with people in maintenance, especially the front line, hearing the stories, learning new technologies, learning more about equipment. And yeah, I still like it. That's why I'm here.
I love it because you have so much knowledge. Now that you touched that topic, you and I share our love for people.
Yeah.
Tell us, what do you think about reliability leadership, and how can people feel empowered to even do a better job?
They have to be motivated, of course. And I see so much poor leadership out there, where, for example, people just tell people what to do, but don't even mention why. Don't even train them properly, etc. And today, the biggest challenge we actually have is to get new generation into this field. And those people have to be trained. We can't take for granted that they know everything as we know it. I used to call it the curse of knowledge, because we take for granted that, of course, you understand how this works, but they don't, many of them. And we need to make it attractive to actually work even in a mill or a pretty challenging, difficult environment. And that comes down to leadership. That comes down to leadership to motivate people.
And I would like to know for you, what is a leader?
Sorry?
What is a leader? What does a person to do a leader? There's so many leadership books out there.
Yes.
But for your personal opinion, what is a leader?
A leader is someone you have to follow. You want to follow. A manager is, what I see, is someone who's kind of taking care of status quo. I manage it. This is the way we manage it as it is. While a leader takes a bold step to change something to the better, to improve something. And they have to understand that you are not the one to accomplish all this. You have to accomplish everything you want to be done through your people.
Yes.
And therefore, you have to spend most time, actually, if you want to make an improvement effort. The very, very easy thing is to draw up on the board here, right, the process, the work management process. You can buy a book about it. You can buy 100 books about that. You can Google it. It's there. The challenge is the implementation. And therefore, if you're a consultant or if you're a leader, you have to go out to the front line, which is supervisors, craftspeople, planners, reliability engineers, operators, and coach them. Sit with them and say, this is what we talked about we're gonna do. Now, I'm gonna coach you how to do that. Because the fact is that we have done a lot of surveys on this, that planners only spend about 30% of their time actually planning. And much of that is because they are interrupted with a lot of other things. So it's not only to train the planner, that's an easy thing, very easy. You have to train the whole organization around them. And you need to sit in their environment and actually work with them every day for 3 weeks. Then the improvement might stick. Yes. Otherwise it won't happen.
Right, that legacy, that sustainability on the programs.
Yes.
What do you see, how companies make a program endure?
Well, the sustainability is really that a technology or method I used is to say, hey, we need to agree on one thing. What is the most important? Is it to do the right thing or is it to do things right? And everybody has to, of course, after a while discussion, they understand, yes, to do the right thing is the most important. Then we have to do it right. So if I would be a leader, I would then present that my beliefs are these, there are a number of them. And I believe these are the right things to do. Now I want you, if you agree to all these things, and they will, because I've done it in so many places, they will agree because it's common sense. Okay, next step would be, now you have to help me to do it right. So I involve the people, right? And a very important thing is to tell them, first of all, why. Because people follow the why, not necessarily the how. So don't push it down their throat and say, this is what we're gonna do. Say, this is the right thing to do. Now, help me, how are we gonna do that? Because there are many ways of doing it.
Yes.
And then you get involvement. And people will, I know they will accept it.
Yeah, and it is a powerful question for a human. Why? Why am I doing this activity? Because everybody has different points of views and different perspectives. In your career, what have you noticed about companies that do asset management versus companies that they're not doing any asset management?
Oh, the best performers, the only difference is that most of them, they know what to do. And the good companies do it.
Yes.
And that's it, execution. And I often talk about the no-do gap. There's a gap often between we know we need to do this and we have to get to doing it. And there's often a big gap, a very big gap. I often used it even on my own kids. They always said when they were small, yeah, I know that, right?
Right.
Well, you know the difference between knowing and doing.
Very different, two different things by all means. And in this knowing, tell us a little bit about your perspective on digitalization. We need the right data to make the right decisions. Tell us what have you seen on the evolution on digitalization?
Yes, of course, digitalization, and people have different opinions about what it is. But a very big part of it is actually to collect data. And much of it is in predictive maintenance, for example, because you have sensors. And I've been in so many places. You can never rely on data you get from people manually putting in data, because it will be so different. And failure codes and all that, it will be so different. It will become more reliable if you have sensors that automatically tell the system this is happening to this piece of equipment. Temperatures has gone up at the same time as we got the bad vibration, and therefore this, whatever that is. And then you get reliable data. But it will take some time to get there, because still today, very many organizations are very reactive. That's why I'm in the business and talk about the same thing for over and over and over again, right? And they're not ready for it. So it will take time to get there. But if you also include in digitalize AI, for example, of course, it's fantastic tools. If you could have a digital twin, for example, of a piece of equipment, which would be a visual bill of material, basically. But before you will get that from the manufacturers, because you can't even get a manual bill of material today. They keep it, they don't want to share it. But that would be a fantastic tool. And I think it will be necessary, because in the future you have so many new people coming into this area that training will be so important.
By all means, and you talked about it, people to be trained, the leaders need to know and pass the torch.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your career. I know you have so many proud moments. What are you most proud of in your career?
That's when I see results and I talk with customers and said, hey, the day you came there, or my organization came there, we changed the way we were thinking maintenance. And that's where it started. And then I have some examples that just astonished me because, you know, in the very beginning, I did a lot of training in basic inspection techniques, very basic. And I was in New Zealand, perhaps I was a long time ago, but anyway, for a company there with a lot of big sawmills. And we talked about that I had problems with a slasher deck. That means where the timber comes up and is transported into the sawmill. And these are big chains, so they have about 8 of them parallel. And we were talking about it, and I said, so what do you do with those chains? Well, we change them every summer because that's their winter. Mm-hmm. And we do it whether it's necessary or not. Fixed time maintenance. I said, well, that's not the way you should do it. You should measure them. Measure the chains over about 10 links and keep a record on that. Very simple to do. And I said, many years later, I think it was 6 years later, I was at another conference in Australia, and one of the guys came up to me and said, hey, Christer, I remember I met you. And you talked about those chains, and actually we started measuring them. So first of all, what we did with the chains was that we saw we could run them up to 2.5 years. And then when we changed them. And then a salesperson came from South Korea and said, I have a change and I can get you the same chains for 50% of the price. So we bought that and we were not sure. But we measured them and they lasted even longer than the chains we had. And the saving they had from that, for such a simple method, right?
Right.
So
yes,
very basic.
Like this.
Yeah, right. And there are many examples. I worked for many years for United Nations, and you know, you have. That's why I talk so much about basic, because there you couldn't talk about to get this expensive equipment, get this. You had to do very basic things, but I saw the development from using just a straight edge to align a coupling to a laser alignment. And the difference was, of course, that when you did it with a straight edge, you had to know what you were doing. You had to know, rotate 180 degrees, record, what shall I do? Now you can just set it up on a laser aligner and the computer tells you what to do. And I've seen that whole change.
Exactly. And talking about that leadership, how do you empower your clients?
Well, that's very difficult. If you're a teacher, how do you empower the students? Mm-hmm. How do you do that? No, you have to motivate them. You have to make them want to do this, seeing that this is interesting. And if they don't see that this is interesting, actually, well, not much will happen. Yeah. And as a teacher, you must remember in school, I could have so bad teachers, even in subjects I liked, and I never liked it. And I had other teachers who had so much enthusiasm for what they were doing and so forth. That's really when you start becoming interested, right? Yeah. So as a leader, you have to show that these are what I believe in. I know this is what's going to work. Yes. And convey that to them. And if that's called empowerment, but at least motivation, right?
And I love that example of the teacher because it is contagious, right? It's the culture. And for you, what is culture?
Oh, first of all, it starts on the top. The top owns the culture. And I think it can be very difficult to say what is a culture, but it's kind of a can-do attitude in the organization. You have to reach that kind of culture, if you would like to call it that. And because there are so many negative cultures, often come in and I talk with the front line and I hear a lot of whining. people are complaining. And those are often the very good performers, because they are the ones who are actually frustrated with that leadership doesn't do anything about this situation.
Yes.
So you have to listen to them too, right? And then of course you have whiners who always whine for whatever reason, but you have to sort that out. But to answer what culture is, I most probably will wake up 2 o'clock in the morning and have the answer exactly.
I like that.
No.
Yes. I like to give these kind of questions. Tell us a little bit, where do you see digitalization 5 years from now?
Oh, it's gonna come. It's definitely more and more and more, right? But again, it comes down to people. It comes down to people and processes, because you can easily digitalize information, sensors about condition monitoring and everything, but when it triggers off an early failures, someone has still to do something about it. So it comes down to to people and processes. And of course, it will increase, because every conference, whatever you go to, it's mostly about that now. So today it's more conferences about it, and talk about it, and articles about it, and so forth. But in 5 years from now, I would love to see what's going to happen. But of course, we'll have more and more of it, no doubt about it.
Let's make a call to action right now for people that are listening to you. What would you tell them if they're hesitating a little about digitalization? What is your message to them?
That you need to see to that before you actually follow, for example, the top manager who say, we need to get into this more and more, because that's often what happens, right? You need to be able to say, we are not ready for it, or we are ready for it. And simple ways of doing that is to look at how much reactive maintenance do we have, and you have a definition on that then. And if you are at 30-40% reactive maintenance, you are not ready for it. But if you start getting really good at it, you are below 10% reactive maintenance. Then you're ready for the next step, and you're going to be very successful with it if you just reinforce it and actually use it. So make sure that you're ready for it. And it's like, I think it was Bill Gates said it many years ago, that if you introduce new technology in an inefficient organization, you increase the inefficiency, because you actually start focusing on technology instead of the real issues. On the other hand, if you introduce it in an efficient organization, it magnifies efficiency, because then you're ready for it.
What would you tell the people that are watching? I know you participate in so many events and write articles. What is a call to action to people that are out there and they might be hesitating? No, I don't want to go there yet, or I'm not ready to present or write an article. Just do it, would you say?
Yeah, I used to say that if you don't know what to do, just do something. Just don't sit and do nothing.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think if I got the question right there, but
Yeah, no, that basically when people say, maybe I want something to share, but I'm not ready yet. Or would you just say, go for it?
Yeah, I would say go for it.
Yes.
Yeah, I would do it. I mean, you can, perhaps they're not ready for it, perhaps you have to change or whatever, but I mean, if you do nothing, then it's nothing.
What are the 3 things that you see that most successful organizations are doing to advance asset management?
Well, first of all, they understand the processes and they do them. What I mean with that, execute them. And what you see is really, I often go back to Deming, and you see that they stick to the same program for long term. The constancy of purpose, as he called it, or he used another term. And that you see to that the program you have, all the processes and the way you do business is owned by the front line, because they are the one to stay longest. While the biggest threat is what also Deming said, there was mobility of top management. And when you change top management and they come in with a new program the whole time, well, after a while, the organization have new program fatigue. Yeah. It's difficult to get them moving again. And the best companies have top leadership visible, not invisible. Visible, caring, and being out there and knowing the organization. it does. I hear many leaders that say, I don't have time to go out and meet with people. You can spend an hour a week and you can just focus on one area. You don't need to take everything, and just be visible and asking how things are going and whatever, and show an interest. Because if you don't, and that's what I see in most organizations, they have that. I worked with one of out of perhaps 300 assessments we've done exactly the same way on best practices. There are 2 companies that have reached world class. It's a pretty tough one. And one was a company with 4 million cows in New Zealand. Another one, a company in Mexico. And what I saw, especially in the one in Mexico, was that the CEO said in every meeting we had that was of importance for asset management. He was there the whole time. He was engaged in it. He asked the people. He was very often out in the plant and so forth. And that was what's driving that.
Yeah, it sets the tone, right?
Absolutely, leadership like that.
Wow, yeah. I love that about you. With all the time we have met, I'm so fortunate that we had the time today to expand a little bit about your concept on leadership, on culture, your success stories. Let's have a call to action for younger generations to come. What would you tell them regarding the involvement on reliability, asset management, and maintenance? What is the call to action for them?
Well, I think that really industry needs the next generation. And it's not a bad job to be a craftsperson, right? I think that actually trade schools should have the same support as colleges. Because to become a good plumber, electrician, mechanic, it's a very safe job. And if you become a good electrician, well, if you want to start your own company, that will not be difficult at all. And show that it's needed, you are needed, you are important. And we have to train parents, perhaps grandmothers, the big influencers of kids, that, hey, to go to a trade school is really something that is important. And that is to become a tradesperson, right? But from there, you can move up into becoming a reliability engineer, you can become a maintenance manager, and they will always be needed. Yes. Nothing is free of maintenance. Yeah. Everything needs maintenance.
I love that call to action. Yeah. Thank you again for being here, part of our interview with Asset Management Visionaries. And to learn more about what Christer does and the organization, we're going to have a link that you can learn more. And we invite you to review this episode and many more at the Association of Asset Management Professionals, Asset Management Visionaries, Shaping Tomorrow. Thank you again, Christer, for your valuable time. And we will see you soon. And remember, smile. We'll see you soon.